Hello there everyone, it's Carol from the Crafty Emporium. So today is the final day of the 5 things challenge. Now, as I've explained previously, the 5 things is entirely up to you. You can use all your scraps, you can use your main bits of paper. The challenge was to use just 5 things to make these items. You could just make 5 of the items. You could just say, to heck with your challenge, Carol, and I'm just going to use whatever. Like I've said before, what Nick the Butlersmith says, I'm not your mum. So, I'm not your mum, so do whatever you want. But the challenge was initially to use 5 things. Now, just before I go into what we're actually going to be making today, I just want to give you a little quick update. I am going to be doing a separate video for this, but I've started doing 2 subscriptions for next year. One of which is available now on my Etsy store, link down below. I will go into more detail in a separate video, but if you can't wait for that video to be uploaded and want to go and have a look, then please go along to my Etsy shop and go and have a peruse through, and you'll find information about the first one. I haven't done them as monthly packs, I'm doing them as quarterly, so that the money can be spread out a little bit easier, because I know that a lot of people are tight on money, and don't want to be forking out every month, or you may already be subscribed to a lot of these monthly things anyway and think, oh god, no, not another one. That's why I've done it as quarterly. Okay, back to this. So I'm going to show you several different versions, okay, of this particular thing that we're going to make, and I'm going to call this one the folded things, seeing as things seems to be the word of the title of the challenge. So there's a lot of videos out about this first one that I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you a couple of different options, but then I'm going to show you some more options of other things that you can do. Okay, now I could not remember for the life of me what they were called when I made all of these. Yeah, I made a lot. So I called them fancy schmancy envelopes because I just could not remember, and it was really simple. They're just origami envelopes, okay? I've got a few in here that I'm going to show you. I'll go through more thoroughly once I've demonstrated how you make it. But these are some of the versions that I've made already. Okay, but I'll go through those with you in a bit. And then, as I say, I'm going to show you a different version of that sort of style of envelope. Now, the 2 types that I'm going to show you, one you will need a rectangle for and one you will need a square for. So the square can be a piece of A4 paper that you've chopped down to a square. It could be a piece of tracing paper that you've chopped down to a square, and this particular one is an Artie Mays digital kit. This was from her Jane Austen journal pack, and I've printed it out onto the tracing paper, so I would need to trim that, all the edges and stuff off, and trim that down to size. But the easiest way of doing it is by using an 8x8 piece of paper from your pack. The only thing is that sometimes these can be a little bit thick, and it is easier with thinner paper, and if you've got double-sided, then that works nicer. Now then, I am actually going to use this. I'm going to use some avocado dyed paper that I've got. Now, some of my avocado dyed papers didn't turn out nice and pretty and pink. They turned out a little bit on the brown side, and I know that I won't use those in my journals because obviously I want them to be pink. But this is where those types of papers, the ones that haven't gone quite according to plan, this is where you can use these up to make things like these envelopes, because you can then decorate them and you're kind of hiding the nastiness. So let's chop this down to size. Now, depending on what paper size you've got, you can use the width to be the measurement that you're going to use to then cut the length of it out. Obviously, if you're in America, you use letter size paper, whereas in the UK we use A4 paper, and also in Europe we use A4 paper. So this is 8.5 inches wide. Okay, so I'm now going to twizzle it, and I'm going to cut my paper this way to 8.5 inches wide, so that I end up with a square. Save that bit. That goes in my bits box. Okay, so pull my sleeves up, means I'm doing business. I'm going to fold it corner to corner, but I'm not going to crease it hard across here. I'm actually just going to dink it in the middle. Okay, I just put a little bit of pressure there, and then I'm going to fold it corner to corner the other way and just dink it in the middle there, so that now I can see where my centre point is. You won't be able to see that because the camera's too far away, but I can see that I've got a little point there that marks the centre, so it's there. Okay, you could, if you wanted to, you could get a ruler and you could draw a straight line from corner to corner and then from corner to corner, and where those 2 points cross, that will be your centre point. But obviously then you end up with pencil marks. So we're going to fold the 4 corners in to the centre, and I'll try to, with paper, it's not so easy to do with thicker paper. I'll try to fold the first 2 in. See, look, I'm way off my little dot in the middle there. Okay, and I'm not going to crease them hard at this point in case I need to just alter it. Oh, Carol, that wasn't square, was it? Let me just check this measurement again, because I don't think I've got a square bit of paper. That's why I'm not meeting. Okay, let me just check. Oh, that's why you say this is just fractionally short of 8.5. Oh, 8.25. That's where I've gone wrong, because I cut it to 8.5, didn't I? It was at the screen shouting at me, Carol, it's 8.25 inches wide, not 8.5. Start again. Blooper moment, blooper. Okay, try again. There we go. That's better. Okay, so what we're doing is we're folding the 4 corners into the centre. Okay, now, as I say, don't fold them in and do a really hard crease, just in case you need to adjust anything. But once you've done that, if you then go round, so I just need to pull that one in just a touch. That one. There we go. Then you can go around with your bone folder and just go and crease those lines if you so wish. Now, if you're using paper, you don't want to do too hard a crease line, because you're weakening that paper. You're breaking down the fibres too much and you're weakening it. Okay, so that's it. Simple. And then you fold it in half. And that's it. That's all there is to it. Now then, on other videos, what they've done is they've lifted up this back flap and pulled it over to the front, and this is where your decorative 2-sided papers come into play. And then they've glued it down. I actually left my flap down there, and then I opened this back up and I put glue down here and down here to glue those 2 sides together, so that now I've got a pocket in the top. Okay, and then obviously when I lift that flap up, I've then got my 2 little corner pockets there, flip it over, and there. And because it's the dyed paper, obviously it's pink on the inside too, or a mucky brown if your avocado didn't work right. So that's the basics of my fancy schmancy envelope. So I'm just going to bring these in to quickly show you of how I've decorated these up. So this one I've put a little bit of crochet lace on it, and a button, and use some of my seam binding to wrap around it so that when I undo this, this will then open up. Okay, so that's that one. This one I've just left it really simple. I've done a punch on the corners, on those 2 corners there, and then as you can see inside this one there's a little mini booklet, and inside this one there's 2 little pieces of leftover folded paper, and in the top pocket here I've put an index card which I've coffee dyed with some lace on, and I've made another little booklet there. So you can store quite a lot in these. This one I've done a little belly band wrap, and I've magnetised it underneath the butterfly so that that's just magnetised to hold the flaps down. So then you would lift up the flaps. Now on this one I cut off the flaps because the paper wasn't very nice. I think I made a bit of a boo-boo with it, and so I didn't have the flaps for this one, and I've left it so that it can be opened up as well. Don't ask me why, I don't know. Maybe I ran out of time, maybe I was tired, who knows. But anyway, so that's that one. But the belly band would then hold all your bits of papers in place. There's another one, look, with flower on, seam binding again, button, but this one I've put lace on the edge of the flap. This one I used one of my are they Prima flower? No, this was a Hobbycraft flower. That was it. That was the Hobbycraft flower. £2.50 for a pack, and they're really pretty, and they've got some leaves in there too. And use the seam binding again for that one. This one again, same thing, seam binding, flower, button, but instead of lace I used up some of my scraps of paper and punched the edges and stuck those on. This one was a big fat one, so this one dimensionally probably wouldn't go in a journal very well, but I made a little rosette with that one, and then I had these ceramic buttons which I inked up and put that on instead of the flower. Now this one, if I undo it to show you, this one is where I said to you about folding the flap from the back round to the front, which is what I've done here. Okay, so that what I've done then is I've made a secret pocket inside of there, because that would be flapped over like so that you wouldn't know that there's another pocket inside of there. And I magnetised it so that again it's not particularly obvious that this top flap flips up and the pocket is in there. And then on the back, obviously you haven't got the flap, you've just got the 2 pockets there at the back, and another little simple one with no particular closure. It's just got one of those flowers again from Hobbycraft, put some paper trim on the edge, and then you've got that. And then I took the top edge of this one off so that you've got the pocket on the middle, the 2 little corner pockets, and the flappy bit. Okay, so that's if you use a square. So a square, this will addle your brain. So the square makes a rectangular envelope. Okay, I'm going to show you another one. So that square makes a rectangular one. Now I'm going to show you how to do a rectangular one so that it makes a square. Yes, okay, now then I'm going to use my, they're on the floor. I'm going to use my avocado dyed paper again, this horrible stuff, and I'm going to cut this I want to cut this down to a specific size, because you can't just use a sheet of paper. It doesn't work. Alright, so I'm actually going to cut this down to 7 inch by 10.5 inch. Okay, so you might want to make a note of that. So 7 inch by 10.5 inch is what we're going to cut this down to. Let's see if I can cut it correctly this time. So 7 inch, there we go. Give me scraps, by 10.5 inch. Okay, and now with this one, I'm going to fold these two corners over until they meet. And again, I'm not doing definite hard creases at this point. And then I'm going to turn it around to the opposite end. And again, fold those two corners over. So that you end up with that funny shape. Okay. Now I'm using card here. This is a piece of card that I dyed. So I am just going to flatten those creases a little bit, because otherwise it'll be bouncy. Alright. So I'm now going to fold this point over, and I'm going to use the edge of the card as the point where I'm actually going to bend it and fold it. And it should meet up with these points over here. So all I'm doing is I'm just bending it and folding it over. And again, I'm just going to press that down with my bone folder, because as I say, with it being card, it just bounces. And then I'm going to fold this opposite end also over. Oop, I did it too far. Okay, so that you end up with that. Now I'm just going to, again, because I'm using the card, I'm just going to use my score pal, because I just want to make this crease so that it's easier to fold. Hopefully I'm in the groove. I'm only doing it lightly at the minute. Just to help me out a bit. Okay, and then that's it. Move that out of the way. So I folded that, and then I'm going to fold it in half that way. Okay. And I'm going to put some glue down there and down there to hold those in place. So I've now got my little pockets on the front, my little pocket on the back, and I've also got the pocket on the top edge when that's glued down. Alright, so as you can see, that now makes a square version. And I'm just going to show you some that I made. Here's some I made earlier. So those are two that I've made. This one was made with the tracing paper that I printed on, and so as you can see, I've put a card in there. I've put a card in there, and I've also got a card in that middle pocket as well. But you can also have them half hanging out of the pocket. So just take that middle one out. So you could have one actually inside the double pocket bit and one half hanging out of the double pocket bit. Put that one back in the middle. I'll do that later. In fact, I'll use it for this. So as you can see here, this was just a piece of avocado dyed paper that I used. So that again, I've got the pocket there. I've got the pocket at the top, and I've got the pocket there. But I could also have, just pick a little tag, just hanging out that little bottom pocket bit as well. And then on this one, I just drew some faux stitching, punched out some circles from leftover bits of paper and stuck those on. But you can tart and titivate to your heart's content. Right, so I'll just quickly go over that version again. So this one needs to be a rectangle. So you start with your rectangle, which needs to measure 7 inch by 10.5 inch. You fold your 2 corners in, and you fold those 2 corners in. Then you fold those over, and then you fold those over, and then you fold it in half. Okay, so that's that one. Now then, whilst I was making these, I did this one with some pattern paper from Calico Collage Digital Kit, but I felt that what it showed here was really quite boring. But when I turned it over, I liked the images that were on the inside. Well, if I was going to glue those together, like I've just shown you, you wouldn't actually get to see that pretty paper. So then I thought, oh, well, what if I fold it that way? So if I fold it that way and then don't glue it, I've then got myself a little booklet, and I could add some pages inside of here, and then I've got a little booklet with some little side pockets. So that's a different version for you. Okay, so that's 3 versions. And then this 4th version, did I use the square? I'm trying to remember how I did this one now. Let me use this square, see if I can remember how I did it. So I did. Oh, inventing as we're going along, look. So I did that, folded those 2 in, that was it. Then I folded it over. Yes, that was it. Then I folded it over. So it was like that. And then I folded it in half. Now obviously this paper's a bit thick, so it's not going to show very well. But then I ended up with a little pocket here. If I glued down this side and this side, I would then end up with a pocket on the top here, and then turn it over and I've got a pocket there. I could leave it that these flap, or I could stick them down, and that's what I did with this one. So, sorry, I'm going too quick again, aren't I? So, start off with your square, fold those 2 corners in, and then at this line here, fold it over. And then you can decide to fold it in half. And it's then up to you whether you stick these flaps down, stick this part down so that it makes the pocket, or whether you just leave it. So the thoughts with this one then was, as I say, you've got the pocket here, you've got the pocket in the middle, and then you turn it over and you've got the pocket on the back. If you don't stick it all down, you would then have these as flaps that you could then lift up, and you could write little messages in there for yourself in your journal. The other thought then was, if I take these out and I turn it round, you have then got a bookmark. Or if we use the middle pocket bit, you've got a bookmark with a little pocket, and the same on that side. Or if you were picking out pages from a section and you wanted to keep those grouped together, use the middle one And then you could write yourself a note into why you've saved that page, and write a note in there to say why you've saved that page. So this just goes to show that if you just let your brain run away with you, you can end up with all sorts of different little bits and pieces. So let me just put all these in front of you again. Now you might need to watch this video a couple of times to just do all the different versions. So we've got the fancy schmancy envelope. Lost all my examples. Come on out. So we've got the fancy schmancy, where you need a square to make a rectangle. Then you need a rectangle to make the square, pockets, booklet, or a little pocket stroke bookmarky. Yeah, so there you go. So that's your the last of the 5 things challenge. I hope I haven't addled your brain too much. Hope you have fun in playing. Thank you very much for joining me right the way throughout this little mini series. I've got loads lined up for you for next year. I've got a great big long list. It's like yeah, that long of things that I want to do. Online workshops, little mini tutorials. Right, I'm going because I'm waffling on. And I'll see. Oh, before I go, you know, often when I say I'm going for a brew, well, apparently I found out on my group that in America, a lot of people go for a brew means that they're going for a pint of beer. No, in Yorkshire particularly, but the rest of the country as well, but mainly in Yorkshire, going for a brew means you're going for a cup of tea. Right, so I'm off for a brew. See you later. Bye.